At her daughter's birthday party, in a crowded restaurant on the edge of Chicago, everything looked perfect. Balloons floated under soft yellow lights. Glitter-covered kids screamed and ran between tables. Candles flickered in tall glass jars, and napkins folded like roses sat untouched next to plates of overpriced pasta. I'd spent hours putting it all together, calling the bakery twice to confirm the cake, hand-picking the party favors, paying for the entire private room so Ashley wouldn't have to share her day with strangers. It was supposed to be a celebration. It ended with a sentence. The waiter leaned in toward our table, politely, professionally, asking to confirm which card was being charged. Ashley, mid-laugh, lifted her wine glass and waved a dismissive hand toward me. "He's not really family," she said, lips curling around the words like they were some kind of inside joke, "just covering the bill." There were chuckles from the end of the table. Her sisters, maybe even Haley. I can't remember, but I remember her tone. The kind people use when they want to sound casual. Just a little cruel, just a little drunk, just sober enough to mean it. I heard her. I sat there for a second, staring at the crumbs on my plate. Nobody else looked at me. They were still laughing. The kids were blowing whistles. Haley was scrolling her phone under the table. Then I stood up, stepped away from the table, and walked out. No shouting, no tantrum, just the weight of years unraveling in silence. Outside, the wind off the lake was sharp. I pulled out my phone and called the bank. Spoke calmly. "Cancel the card ending in 6742. Effective immediately." The man on the phone asked if I wanted to report it stolen. "No," I said. "Just done with it." The cake never made it to the table. Someone must have asked about it eventually. Probably Madison, the youngest. She'd picked the flavor, chocolate ganache with raspberry layers. I remember because it cost $90 more than the regular. I didn't blink when I paid. I wanted it to be perfect for her. I wanted her to see what it looked like when a man shows up. But I guess they don't teach you that in school. I didn't get a call that night. No text. Not even a half-hearted "Where'd you go?" from Ashley. It was the silence that told me everything I'd spent 5 years trying to deny. My name is David. I'm 46. I work in construction supply out in Denver. My days are long, loud, and dirty. I come home with concrete dust in my teeth and a lower back that feels like it's been punched by God. 5 years ago, I married Ashley. She had 2 daughters, Haley and Madison. 13 and 10 when I met them. Teenagers now. I took them in like they were my own. Not with grand speeches or forced hugs. With presence. With consistency. With work. School drop-offs. Math tutoring. Dance rehearsals in gymnasiums that smelled like sweat and glitter. Orthodontist bills I paid without blinking. Vacations where I held the camera while everyone else posed. Ashley used to say I was too serious, too stiff. But I wasn't raised with a lot of softness. I learned that love doesn't always sound warm. It shows up in what you carry. So I carried it. All of it. I carried the bills, the stress, the silent weight of not being dad, but needing to act like one. My daughter from my first marriage, Sophia, spent every summer with us. She never complained. She never compared. She just watched. Watched how Haley mocked me. How Madison copied her. How I swallowed every insult like it was my duty. One afternoon, Sophia caught me in the garage, sitting on a box, staring at nothing. She handed me a cold can of soda and said, "They don't see what you do, but I do." She was 11. I didn't cry then. I don't cry, but something about her voice, it broke something loose in me. I thought that if I gave enough, I'd eventually belong. If I bought the right Christmas gifts, if I said yes enough times, if I sat through one more dance recital or school fundraiser, they'd look at me and say, "He's ours." But I was wrong. What they saw wasn't a father. It was an ATM. Haley was the first to turn cold. She was smart, too smart. She had that sharp, sarcastic streak that Ashley used to call, just like her dad. I never met the man, but if he taught her contempt, I guess he left more than his DNA. At first it was small, snide comments about my clothes or the way I chewed too loud. Then it became bolder, rolling her eyes when I asked about homework. snapping back when I set rules, calling me by my first name like we were coworkers, not family. David, can you not breathe so loud? That was the first time I felt like a stranger in my own kitchen. Madison followed suit a year later. She used to hug me, used to run up when I came home from work, arms outstretched, shoes untied. That ended around the time she turned 12. She started watching Haley for cues, how to talk, how to smirk, how to twist the knife with a smile. One night, I asked her to clean up her cereal bowl. She looked at Ashley and said, "Do I have to? He's not my real dad." Ashley didn't say anything. That silence? That's where everything dies. I didn't want their love. I wanted something smaller, just a little warmth, a little respect, a little recognition that I was trying. But in that house, trying wasn't enough. There was always another expense, another sacrifice, another way to prove I belonged, and another reminder that I never would. I paid for Haley's senior portraits. She didn't invite me to the shoot. I paid for Madison's art camp. She drew a picture of her family and left me out. Ashley told me, "Don't take it personally. They're teenagers." But you know what? Respect isn't a phase. It's a choice. And so is silence. Ashley's silence was the loudest thing in that house. She never corrected them when they crossed the line. Never said, "That's your stepfather. You don't talk to him like that." She let them draw the lines. She let them build the wall. She stood on the other side with them. Sometimes I wonder if she loved me at all, or if she just loved the security I brought. The steady hand, the full fridge, the second car. Maybe she thought marriage was just another upgrade. Not a partnership, just a transaction with benefits. When we first got married, I used to write little notes on the fridge before I left for work. "Have a great day, girls. Pancakes in the fridge. Don't forget your recital." They stopped responding after the second year. One morning, Haley left a reply under my note. "You don't need to write us these. We're not 5. After that, I stopped writing. I stopped a lot of things, but I kept paying. Because that's what men are taught to do. Provide. Persist. Ignore the rot if the roof still stands. Until the day it doesn't. Until the day your wife, in front of a room full of people, with a wine glass in one hand and your dignity in the other, says, "He's not really family, just covering the bill." I wonder now, did she rehearse it? Was it the kind of line that just comes to you when you've been thinking it for years? Or was it how she always felt? I don't know. But I do know this. That line didn't break me. It revealed everything. It revealed that I was never part of the picture. Just a man holding the camera, paying for the frame. They never called me dad again. And I never asked them to. Because now I know the truth. After the cake incident, I didn't say anything. I drove home in silence, windows down, air thick with lake humidity and the aftertaste of something that was supposed to feel like family. Ashley didn't come home that night. I figured she stayed at her sister's with the girls. Or maybe she just didn't want to face me. The funny part? I wasn't angry. I was empty. And when you're empty, you finally see clearly. The noise of hope dies. The excuses go quiet. All that's left is the shape of the life you've been living. And mine looked like a house built on someone else's land, paid for with someone else's name on the deed. So I started subtracting. Not loudly. No announcements. No fights. Just subtraction. First, the subscriptions. Spotify, Hulu, Disney+, YouTube Premium. All gone by the morning. Then the insurance. I called the agent and removed the second car from the plan. It was Haley's car now. Let her figure out how to keep it on the road. I took the electric scooter off the policy too. Madison never wore her helmet anyway. I went online and turned off the automatic refill for their phones. Stopped the gym memberships. Canceled the makeup subscription box that arrived monthly like clockwork, filled with glitter and synthetic happiness. I didn't touch Sophia's account. Her phone stayed on. Her little art app renewal stayed on. The grocery delivery she used to order stuff for us once a week, still active, because she had never asked for more than she needed. Never treated what I gave as currency to mock me with. The first signs of friction came fast. Haley tried to buy clothes online 2 days later, declined. Madison tried to log into Netflix that night, no luck. Ashley called from work. "You could have warned me," she said. Her voice wasn't angry, just inconvenienced, like a printer jam. I said, "When you say I'm not family, I start acting like I'm not." That night, I didn't answer the phone again. Sophia came into the room I'd started sleeping in, the guest room, and brought me tea. "It feels better when you're around," she said. She didn't mean safer or happier. She meant realer. I smiled for the first time in months. A week later, I packed up. No fight, no scene, just movement. I took my tools from the garage, the ones they always borrowed but never returned. I took my guitar, the one Madison broke a string on last Christmas and laughed about. I took the rug from the hallway, the one I paid for because the floor felt cold and no one else noticed. Sophia held the door while I loaded the truck. She didn't ask questions, just helped, quietly, deliberately, like she knew this moment had been waiting for us all along. We moved into a small apartment near her school. 2 bedrooms, thin walls, no yard, but the air was easier to breathe. We didn't have a TV at first, just her old laptop. We ate dinners on the floor the first week. Paper plates, takeout, silence. But it wasn't tense silence. It was peaceful silence. The kind where nothing is owed, nothing is expected, and everything offered is real. Ashley texted the second night. "Ashley, I think you're overreacting." I didn't reply. 2 days later, "Ashley, you could have stayed. For them. For them. Not for her. Not for us. Just for the image she still clung to." I stared at that message for a long time. Long enough for the screen to dim. Then I locked the phone and went to sleep. The next day, she sent a photo of Madison looking sad. I don't know if it was real sadness or just a staged moment to pull at something inside me that used to respond. I didn't respond, because here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. If love has to be bought, it isn't love. It's a transaction. And I was tired of being the one always footing the bill. A week passed, then 2. I came home from work one afternoon and found Sophia sitting on the couch, sketchbook in her lap, the soft sound of a pencil dragging over paper. She looked up and said, "Do you think they miss you?" I sat down beside her. Not too close. "I think they miss what I provided, not who I was." She didn't ask more, just nodded. Sophia draws sharks now. Dozens of them. Some with sunglasses. Some wearing aprons. Some flying through the sky like dreams that refuse to sink. She started taping them to the wall near the kitchen. I let her, because that's our wall now. Our story. Our little corner of truth. Every time I pass it, I feel something that doesn't quite have a name, but it feels like home. Ashley texted again last Thursday. "Ashley, you can't just leave. That's not what men do." Funny how they only use that word when it suits them. Man. When you're paying, you're a man. When you're walking away, you're a coward. I left the message on read. Later that night, Sophia asked if I'd play something on the guitar. I tuned it slowly, fingers stiff from years of disuse and drywall. She curled up under a blanket and just listened. Not with awe, with respect. And that's the part no one ever tells you is possible. That you can leave the place where you're unloved and find someone, even just one person, who looks at you and sees what you really are. Not a wallet, not a backup dad, not an accessory, just a man. I know Haley's probably spinning a story about me now, that I abandoned them, that I walked out for no reason, that I gave up, let them. People like to rewrite history when it gets uncomfortable. But I have the receipts, not just the credit card statements, the time, the patience, the countless moments when I swallowed my pride, bent myself in half, and gave what wasn't asked for but always expected. I gave until I disappeared. Now I'm done disappearing. I stopped paying for love, and for the first time in years, I'm not bankrupt anymore. I'm building again. Smaller, simpler, but real. Sometimes I think about that cake, still sitting in the back of the kitchen at that restaurant. Perfect, untouched, decorated with Haley's name and sparkles she picked out. I wonder if someone tried to serve it. I wonder if they even told the kids why it never came. Maybe they blamed the waiter. Or me. But here's what I know. That cake never belonged at that table. Because neither did I. The first envelope arrived 2 weeks later. Thick, off-white, university crest stamped in blue. I recognized it before Ashley did. Watched her walk past it on the kitchen counter 3 times before she finally picked it up. She texted me that night. Ashley, Haley's tuition hasn't been paid. Did something happen with the account? I didn't answer. The next day, a second message. Ashley, the school's threatening to drop her classes. Still, I said nothing. Because I'd already said everything. With my silence. With my absence. 3 days later, she called. I let it ring out. Then again. This time, she left a voicemail. Her voice sounded unfamiliar. Polished, but cracking at the edges. David, we need to talk. This isn't about me. It's about them. Please don't make Haley suffer for what happened. Just call me. She never said, I'm sorry. Just don't make her suffer. But that suffering, that was never mine to prevent. I'd built the bridge. They set it on fire. A week passed. Then came the knock at my apartment. I knew it was her before I even opened the door. Ashley, wearing that too-thin cardigan she always wore when she was pretending to be soft. She smelled like the same perfume, the same comfort she weaponized. Can I come in? She asked. I didn't move, just leaned against the doorframe. Just for a minute, she said. I let her. Barely. She stood in the living room, eyes darting around like the place made her nervous. Probably did. No stainless steel appliances. No open-concept kitchen. Just a couch from Craigslist, second-hand curtains, and walls covered in Sophia's drawings. She sat down slowly. You really just left. I didn't answer. You didn't even try to talk about it. I stayed standing. She sighed. You're punishing them. Haley and Madison. You know that, right? They don't understand why everything's falling apart. You disappeared. You canceled everything. I had to borrow money from my sister just to keep the lights on this month. I almost laughed. Borrowed money. Like I hadn't been doing that quietly, permanently, for the past 5 years. But now the withdrawal felt like sabotage because the free ride had stopped. You told a room full of people I wasn't family, I said. Now I'm acting like I'm not. She winced. Just slightly. I was joking, she muttered. You know that. No, I said. You weren't. Silence. Then she tried a different angle. Haley said she'll talk to you. She regrets what she said. She wants to explain. I raised an eyebrow. Does she want to apologize? Or explain? Ashley didn't answer. That told me everything. There is a difference between guilt and remorse. Guilt is what you feel when you lose something. Remorse is what you feel when you realize why you lost it. Ashley stood up. Please, David. They need you. I looked her in the eye. They never did. Not really. They needed what I gave. Not who I was. She started crying. But even her tears felt curated. She left without saying goodbye. That weekend, Haley showed up. No text. No warning. Just a knock on the door like a ghost asking for re-entry. I opened it and there she was, hair done, jacket that probably cost more than my rent. Eyes red but dry. Can we talk? I didn't step aside. Just nodded toward the hallway. We can talk here. She looked surprised. Like she expected a couch. A coffee. Maybe even forgiveness. I didn't mean what I said at the restaurant. She began. I waited. I was nervous. It was a big day. I was trying to be funny. You weren't. I know, she said quickly. I know that now. I didn't think it would matter. That was the first honest thing she'd said. She didn't think it would matter. She never thought I mattered. And now she was here because her tuition was frozen, her car insurance had lapsed, and her credit card had defaulted to her own name. I'm not asking you to pay for everything again, she said. Just help me finish the semester. I'll get a job. I'll take over payments. You said I wasn't your family. I cut in. She went quiet. I paid for your life, I continued. I kept you in school, in clothes, in comfort. I sat in bleachers at your games. I stood in checkout lines buying you dresses. I ate your silence like it was love. And you sat in that restaurant and told the world I was nothing but a credit card. She was shaking now. I didn't mean it, she whispered. But you did, I said. And that's why it hurt. She looked up at me, finally actually looking. Not through me, not past me, but at me. I don't have anyone else, she said. That sentence should have made me feel needed. Instead, it just proved my point. They only come to you when the ground beneath them gives way. Never when they're standing tall. Never when they're proud. Only when they're falling. I gave her a number, a financial aid counselor I knew from work. Told her what forms to fill out. Told her she'd need tax returns from her mother. Told her I hoped she figured it out. Then I closed the door. She didn't knock again. That night, Sophia asked if everything was okay. I told her, everything's finally where it belongs. Because here's what people don't understand. There's no revenge in silence. There's no satisfaction in watching them squirm. There's only peace. That brittle, empty peace you earn when you stop chasing people who only ever saw you as useful. Ashley stopped texting after that. I got a letter from her a month later. Handwritten. For pages. Full of things that sounded like apologies but were really just explanations. I didn't know what you needed. I was under a lot of pressure. They're just kids. Not once did she say, I failed you. Because that would have required her to see me as someone worth failing. She closed the letter with, maybe someday we can try again. For the girls. I burned it. Quietly. Page by page. No rage. No catharsis. Just fire. Sophia watched me do it from the kitchen table. She didn't ask why. She just drew another shark on the wall. This one had a crown. I taped it up and said, looks like he finally knows who he is. She smiled. We made pancakes that night. Burned the first two. Ate them anyway. Played cards on the floor until midnight. Later, when the lights were out, I stared at the ceiling and wondered how many years I wasted trying to earn a title that was never mine to claim. I never wanted gratitude. I wanted presence. I wanted to matter in a way that didn't require receipts. But what I got was silence, entitlement, and a wife who let her children mock the man who paid for their entire adolescence. Could have stayed. I could have kept paying, kept pretending, kept being the quiet backbone of a house that never acknowledged the weight I carried. But at some point, even the strongest back breaks. And mine finally let go. People think endings are loud. They think there's some final fight, a slammed door, a speech that ties everything together. But that's not how things die. Sometimes the ending is just an unanswered message. A quiet room. A chair that stays empty. Sometimes it's the mail still arriving with someone else's name on it, and you don't bother correcting it. It's been 7 months now. Ashley and I haven't spoken since her letter. The girls? Nothing. Not a text. Not a call. Not even a passive-aggressive emoji on Facebook. First, I checked. I'll admit that. I checked Haley's profile. Saw her graduation photos. New cap. New nails. Big smile. Caption said, wouldn't have made it without my people 2 hearts. I wasn't in the pictures. Not the past. Not the story. Not even a foot in the background. It hit me then. Harder than her mother's betrayal. Harsher than Madison's silence. I never existed in their version of the narrative. I was a placeholder. A financial interlude. And when the payments stopped, so did the memory. Sometimes I wonder if that's what stepfathers are in the end. Ghosts with bank accounts. Sophia asked me last week if I missed them. I told her the truth. I miss who I thought they were. Because the truth, the raw, sharp truth, is that I grieved for an illusion. I mourned a fantasy. I poured years into a vessel that was never meant to hold me. But I did learn something. More than one thing. Lesson 1. If love needs prompting, it's not love. Lesson 2. If respect has to be demanded, it isn't there. I used to believe I failed them. That maybe if I'd smiled more, joked more, punished less, I'd have cracked the code. That if I'd found the perfect balance between discipline and generosity, they'd look at me and finally say, you're ours. But now I see it. clear as drywall lines. They failed themselves. They had a man who showed up, who paid, who stayed, who sat through the rolled eyes, the slammed doors, the whispered jokes and cold shoulders, who never left until it was clear that leaving was the only honest thing left to do. And they threw him away, threw me away. And the worst part? They still don't know what they lost. They still believe the world works like childhood. You push and someone pulls you back. You scream and someone brings you food. You say, "You're not my real dad," and the man stays anyway, because men always stay, right? Not this time. Now they live with that silence. Not because I hate them, but because I finally love myself enough to stop handing pieces of me to people who only notice when I'm gone. Ashley once told me I was too quiet, that I swallowed too much, that I didn't fight hard enough to be accepted. But acceptance isn't a prize you fight for. It's a door that opens on its own. If you have to knock forever, you're not welcome inside. Sophia paints now. Not just sharks anymore. Mountains. Storms. Women with battle scars. She asks me what I see in her work. I never critique. I just observe. Because that's what she needs. Not control. Not approval. Just presence. We go for walks sometimes. No phones. No destination. She tells me about a boy she likes. I listen. I don't warn. I don't advise. I just listen. She says I'm the safest person in her life. And that's what fatherhood is. Not paperwork. Not genes. Just showing up. Without being asked. And staying. Until staying becomes choice, not duty. One night, a few weeks ago, I saw Madison in a grocery store. She was with friends. She didn't see me. Or maybe she did, and looked away. She laughed, big, theatrical. The kind of laugh that says everything's fine. But her eyes kept flicking toward the entrance, like she expected someone to walk in and catch her pretending. I didn't say anything, didn't approach, didn't interrupt the show. Because her story no longer belongs to me. I stepped outside into the cold. The air was sharp, honest. I sat in my truck for 10 minutes before driving home. When I walked in, Sophia had candles lit. Pancakes again. She's gotten good at flipping them without burning the edges. She said, "You okay?" I nodded. Because I'm okay. Not whole. Not healed. But honest. I live in a place where no one calls me not really family. I pay bills that feed someone who feeds me back, with kindness, with presence, with truth. I don't buy love anymore. I live it. Quietly. Fully. Without discounts or coupons. Sometimes the past knocks in my sleep. I hear Ashley's laugh in my dreams. I wake up with clenched teeth and sweat down my back. But I don't reach for my phone. I just breathe. And let it pass. It always does. And when it doesn't, Sophia knows when to hand me a drawing. Last week's was a tree. Tall. Weather-beaten. But still standing. She titled it, "You." And I ask you now, the way I ask myself every morning when I shave in the bathroom mirror of a 2-bedroom apartment no one else paid for. Was I wrong? Was I wrong to walk away? To let them carry the weight I once lifted? To demand something real, even if it meant ending the illusion? Or would you have endured it? Would you have stayed? If every dollar was a bruise, every day a performance, every moment a reminder that you were not real to the people you bled for, would you have stayed?